We all ready to go. Good morning to everyone. I want to begin by thanking the Speaker, who you'll hear from in a moment, for his commitment, his House's commitment to the reform that we are going to speak about together today. But I know that the Speaker will thank his colleagues, and I will add to that, but I want to say a special word to my two senators here. Senator Ron Calderon, who will be the lead author of the bill that I will be discussing in a moment. And I want to thank Senator Fran Pavley as well, and especially for the two of them to work together in the way that they have this year. I will also thank the Governor, Lieutenant Governor Newsom, who's taken a lead role on these issues, and I especially want to thank our partners in this effort, the California Chamber of Commerce, led by Alan Zarenberg, who you'll hear from in a few minutes, the President and the CEO, and the President of the California Manufacturers Technology Association, Jack Stewart, who you'll also hear from in a few moments. Members of the press, last January I invited a number of the state's top CEOs, economists, and other business leaders to sit down with the Senate caucus and give us their best advice on what we could do to improve California's economy. While they came from different industries, different political perspectives, and different business philosophies, they agreed on the same three pieces of action. Number one, pass an on-time budget. Number two, maintain the highest level of investment in public education as possible. And third, implement regulatory reform. Send a message to investors and employers that California is serious about improving its business climate by eliminating unnecessary obstacles to business creation and expansion. As you know, this year we passed an on-time budget. Wasn't pretty, but we got the job done. And despite a $20+ billion deficit, we were able to maintain education funding at a stable level. And today, we are delivering on the third prong, regulatory reform. We are here to put an end, or at least we are here as a strong beginning to put an end to the drumbeat that California is not friendly to business. 7 months ago, Senator Calderon and Pavley put out a measure that has been refined and expanded substantially. They have worked very closely with the business leaders you'll hear from in a few moments to put forward a very aggressive regulatory reform proposal that will protect Californians and the environment while making it easier and less expensive to do business in California. It will require a more rigorous assessment of the economic impacts of major regulations before they are adopted, and that's key. That does not exist in the law today. It will improve transparency and oversight of the new regulatory system. Any major regulation now in California, when this law is signed, will have to go through not only a rigorous analysis of the benefit on either the environmental or the labor side, but the impact on business, the impact on job creation. And we think that this is a major step forward. This is not a partisan issue. We all must push for smarter regulations, responsive government, and most important, let's get people back to work. Thank you. Speaker Perez.
Thank you, Senator. I'm proud to stand with my colleagues today to announce a critical policy change that will help businesses speed up their investment and job creation efforts in California by streamlining the regulatory process. With 11.8% unemployment rate in our state, we simply have no time to waste. I want to thank the business leaders that are here for working with us on compromise solutions that will put Californians back to work. Additionally, this is what motivated me to author AB 29, creating the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development, to be known as CalBiz. This creates a one-stop shop to assist businesses, including integrating the Small Business Advocate and the California Business Investment Service, which provides assistance to those potential employers considering California for new business investment and expansion. Ultimately, this office will establish long-term economic goals and strategies, as well as specific and effective services to California's businesses, both large and small, to help create more jobs in our state. The office will provide recommendations on streamlining and permitting processes and to do a better job at marketing California as a great place in which to do business. We've also worked closely with both labor and business to promote regulatory reform that removes unnecessary obstacles to job creation. And I'm here with my colleagues, Assembly Members Bradford and Wachowski, because they too have proposals that will help streamline the process and create more jobs in California. AB 408 by Mr. Wachowski will streamline safety processes for businesses dealing with hazardous waste. And Mr. Bradford has also put forward a proposal that will make state agencies consider the impact of regulations on business while improving the health and safety of the public and the environment. The fact is that there is no greater challenge that we must overcome than to get California back on the right track, and we will do that by implementing the solutions that we're talking about today to help business create more good-paying jobs here in California. With that, I'd like to bring forward the President and CEO of the California Chamber of Commerce, Alan Zarenberg.
Thanks, Alan.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pretty good turnout. You should have me at more of your press conferences.
Yes, you're always welcome.
You should support more of our legislation.
Particularly
I think that's a commitment to take some amendments. You know, there are many things that impact different businesses in California. But for every business that is impacted by government, they have to go through a regulatory agency. And this affects many businesses. And the number one issue that we hear from businesses throughout the country is the uncertainty of doing business in California. And what we have today is a step forward in the right direction to basically bring some certainty to the regulatory process. First and foremost, the private sector economic impacts of a regulation will be brought to the forefront. We will have protocols to make sure that they're done right. We will have a review to make sure that that analysis is done right. And then we will have the consideration of alternatives, with the cost effectiveness of the best alternative being the baseline, the priority, and transparency in the process, as has been said. I think what's great about this day, and this is an issue that has been an issue for both sides of the aisle in both houses, both Democrats and Republicans. And you know, one of the key things about the regulatory process, and in talking to the administration, they support this, is the commitment from the administration and from the governor to make sure that you have a transparent regulatory process. And that is always, always important no matter what we put into the law. So we have a package here today that I think, most importantly, we're not just talking about job creation, but we're talking about doing something about job creation to create that certainty that will resonate not just in California, but hopefully throughout the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alan, I would like to introduce the CMTA president, Jack Stewart. Jack, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Senator and Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure for me to participate in this press conference today. Manufacturing investment and employment has historically been a major driver in our economy, providing high-wage jobs, good benefits, tremendous spillover to the service sector and other jobs. And if anybody thinks that we can bring middle-class jobs back to California without a strong industrial sector, let's have the debate, because I don't think it can happen. Now that an unpredictable and expensive regulatory climate makes it challenging to compete in California, and it discourages new manufacturing investment. Over the last 5 years, California has only received 1.3% of the national industrial investment in new startups and expansions. The largest manufacturing state is now receiving 1.3% over the last 5 years. It's a dramatic loss for us, and we need to turn that around. We thank Senator Steinberg and Speaker Perez for bringing the majority party to the table in recent weeks to negotiate a meaningful economic impact analysis for major new regulations. We anticipate that the legislative leaders from both sides of the aisle understand California's costly regulatory climate and has become a significant barrier to investment and job creation in the state. I'd be remiss if I didn't comment on the hard work and tireless efforts put forth by the GOP 5, Senators Blakesley, Berryhill, Cannella, Harmon, and Emerson, and the Republican leaders Dutton and Conway to keep regulatory reform at the top of the legislative agenda throughout the session. SB 617 is a positive first step to improving the regulatory climate by requiring state agencies to conduct a robust economic analysis of major new regulations. But there's a lot more to be done. Manufacturers look at 5 criteria when investing or expanding. 1 is predictability of costs. 2, competitive costs. There are 2 different things, predictable costs and competitive costs. Adequate infrastructure, a trained and available workforce, and Senator Steinberg, thank you for your work on SB 547 this year, and regulatory certainty. This bill goes to regulatory certainty. SB 617 has the potential for being a new paradigm in the way we make regulations in California, and its success will ultimately depend on a commitment and follow-through by the regulatory agencies, Governor Brown's administration, and the legislature to make our regulatory process more transparent and ensure that regulators adopt the most cost-effective alternatives to achieving those goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jack. We'd be happy to answer questions. I know the authors of the bills are here as well to answer any questions. Just one note. I do think it's sort of noteworthy, the contrast. And again, this is a beginning. This isn't the end, but it's the beginning. We say California leads the way. And, in Washington, D.C., while they're arguing about what date the president should speak before the Congress, here we're standing with business leaders in our great state to actually move forward specific, important legislation that will help create jobs. I hope that, even outside of California, people take note.
Steinberg, are you finding anything further in this regard? Because during this session, there's been talk around the Capitol about SACRA reform, perhaps not including a football stadium in LA. Are you finding anything else in that direction?
I know that Senator Simitian has SB 226, which is in the Assembly, which contains a number of significant SACRA reforms. I might defer to the Speaker. or on the football issue, I know that there's a lot of discussion and a lot of negotiation going on, and we'll wait and see what happens here.
The Senator's coming with me to the first game at the new LA football stadium. There's that's the environmentally friendly football stadium with the best traffic mitigation in the country. That's
yes.
right.
Look forward to it.
That needs to get done in the next week.
Yes.
I have an open mind on the subject, okay? And be talking with the Speaker. I see some of the fine labor leaders from Southern California here and others, and I know this is the buzz. I have an open mind, consulting with my colleagues, and we will certainly be involved in the discussion, obviously.
Darrell, can you talk about the Amazon proposal and what are the pros and cons about it?
Well, look, the Amazon proposal, in my view, is interesting, but 155 is more interesting because it upholds the law and guarantees that the state will be able to collect the sales tax from Amazon over the next 2 fiscal years. I don't think we can afford to just say, well, let's set $400 million aside. I appreciate that Amazon wants to talk about creating jobs in California. That's a good thing. But I think let's focus on trying to get this 155 done. And
Let me go a little further than that. I think people have phrased this discussion around Amazon in an odd way. They phrased it as if we were trying to pass a new tax on Internet purchases. Not the case. What we've tried to do is make sure that we collect the taxes that are actually owed. The business practice that Amazon has been engaged in, the business practice that Amazon has been engaged in has basically inadvertently made everybody who has purchased on their system a tax cheat. Now, all of us, and I count myself amongst them, who purchase, whether through a Kindle device or on the Amazon website, have an obligation to pay taxes on our purchases, and assume that as we're doing business on a website with a legitimate business, that that is being taken care of. but Amazon hasn't done its part of collecting and then moving the taxes to the state as obligated. So inadvertently, what's happened is we've created thousands and thousands, maybe millions of Californians who are cheating the system through no efforts of their own, no desire of their own to cheat. So by us actually moving forward with the legislation that we passed, we're streamlining that for people, not letting people inadvertently be tax cheats, and not having them have to go through a rigorous process of recalculating every purchase they made so that they can comply with the law. People purchase online for a variety of reasons. The biggest reason is convenience. I don't believe that Californians want to be tax cheats, and Amazon is basically engaged in a process where they've taken people to be unwilling tax cheats, and they've done it at the expense of bricks and mortar companies.
Does that mean you are rejecting the proposal
No.
of Amazon out of hand?
No, I'm not. But because look there's the other reality here is that in order to avoid a referenda, the bill requires a two-thirds vote, and that's one of the motivations. And we know that the idea of a two-thirds vote in the legislature is not always easy to come by. And so, you know, in some ways, the Republicans have to decide whether or not they want to enforce the existing tax law on that score. And 155 has got to play out, but the session's running out, and so we prefer 155.
On SB 617, it says that you all said this is reviewing major regulations. Can you define what that means? What the cutoff is?
50.
Does it include anything with CEQA or not?
$50 million. Any regulation that is at a threshold of $50 million or more.
That's impact on the economy.
Impact on the economy, and of course that could. Why don't you, Jack? Come on, Ron, come on up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the answer to that is we discussed in our negotiations with the chamber with Jack, is that we would have the Department of Finance make that determination.
On regulatory reform, we're hearing from everyone from Mr. Steinberg and Mr. Stewart to Senate Republicans phrases like "good first step." Do you see this as a good first step, or do you see this as the step?
No, it's a good first step. California is in a very deep hole right now. We have 12% unemployment. We're not seeing California's in a very deep hole right now. We're not seeing new investment. Our unemployment's stuck at 12%. And there's a lot of other things that need to happen to reduce costs in California to bring California in line with other states and nations. I mean, it's a long way to go, but this is a significant step, signaling the business community that we're willing to start working on these issues in a meaningful way.
Yep.
Look, it's a good step. First is really the wrong statement for it, because I think there have been lots of good steps that we've taken. For manufacturing last year, we did a green manufacturing tax credit. California historically has been one of only 3 states in the country that had no manufacturing tax credits. That was a good step. So what do you count as first, I think, is less important than us moving forward and continuing to find other good steps to take. This is one. There will be others that we'll engage in as well.
Alan, can I ask you what the prospects are for a coalition like this coming together on the issue of taxes? I mean, obviously this was part of the budget debate, and what do you think about the prospects of November 2012 and you standing here with some labor leaders, perhaps the governor and some of the Democrats on embracing some taxes for the ballot?
We're going to go off message here on the regulatory reform today, but you know, we participated in trying to find what we called a sweet spot, a budget solution that was comprehensive, that addressed the needs for necessary programs, but also addressed the desire to make sure that the voters saw some controls over sustainable spending in the future and things like that. I think we still need to look at that. You know, I have to say, you know, downstairs on the first floor, they're swearing in a new Supreme Court justice. You know, making sure we have fully funded courts, court construction, higher education. Many of these things are very important to the business community in terms of making sure that we have a robust state that provides the necessary services. So I think it's incumbent upon us all, the people who are here, the people who aren't here, which would be the governor, the Republican caucus, to make sure that we look at this carefully and see what is doable with the public and make sure we can make a case. And I think speaking with one voice, ourselves, the legislature, both parties, the governor, and also the people who are impacted by, which would be the people, the voters, and the unions who have a stake in this too. So I think speaking with one voice will go a long way to satisfying the needs of the voters. One of the things, if I might say this, in some of the research you see, whether it be in Washington or here, certainly in Washington that washes over us here in California, is that we need to restore that confidence in government. We need to restore that confidence in everybody who participates in that. And I think being together with one voice, with a one solution, will go a long way towards making sure that the public understands that we can work together, and therefore they will be supportive. And I think without that, we'll have a tough sell.
Alan, is this initiative enough to keep other large employers on the ball right now from leaving the state?
The regulatory reform?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's, certainly they have to understand, but yes, I think you have to look, and Jack talked about manufacturing. Each industry, if you're labor intensive, you care about employment laws. But if you're a manufacturer, if you're an insurance company, if you do business in a state that's regulated, these are issues that are necessary to bring certainty to the process. And it shows you that if you participate in the process, put forward an alternative that achieves the goal of the underlying legislation, and you have a better way to do it, a cost-effective way to do it after it's analyzed for the economic impact, then you have certainty, you have participation, and one of the things we have here is transparency. And I think that will help people understand that we're hearing the business community, and so please keep your jobs here, invest here. That's the key. We can't solve the world's problems, but California can be more competitive. And by bringing that certainty here, that's how we can be more competitive.
Alan, why are you here supporting the package of bills being outlined by the Democrats as opposed to the GOP
No, you go.
5 proposal that was outlined yesterday?
We worked on the budget. We worked with both sides. The Republicans have supported regulatory reform. We have the Democrats here today supporting regulatory reform. If I've learned anything in my many, many years, I know how to count. But I'll go back to what I said to the question about finding a solution to the budget. Is we need to be able to speak with one voice. We need to be together on a solution. And I think this, on regulatory reform, is being together on solutions that the business community throughout the country has to hear. And that's what we're talking about today.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.